Kathy Kozlet, and this is Cooking Classic. Joining me this week is Chef Joseph Caputo. How are you today?
I'm just fine. How are you, Kathy?
I'm terrific. Now, he owns a catering business in Scranton.
I do.
He owns a restaurant in Scranton, Zuppa DiGiorno.
That's right.
Correct. And I mean, there are just so many other things that he's done. I think people are really interesting. You know, people just have lots of stories to tell, so you may as well just get started and pick one.
And it all comes to the table, or
does,
I should say
doesn't
comes
it?
to the prep table back there. When we get to the kitchen, I bring it all forward. So
It
I have a
does.
background in some drama and theater, and I was teaching for many years, and then I got into culinary. So I bring it all together now.
Now, you know I'm going to ask you how you got into culinary, but one of the things that I find really interesting, and oftentimes we don't understand this until later in life, but the effect that our grandparents and
That's
other
right.
people in our lives have had on us, and that really has influenced you,
Certainly.
hasn't it?
I was a shy child, believe it or not, and at home quite a bit. So I hung around my grandparents' kitchen, and they were all great cooks, and so was my mom. So I watched them, very much every day, and sometimes even got to help as I got older. And then in later life, remembered those experiences and wrote them in a cookbook.
Yeah, and how great that they let you help out in the kitchen
For
and be a
sure.
part of what was going on.
Absolutely.
Now, he's also called the accidental chef.
Yeah.
This is where the friend comes in, right?
Well, it's accidental in a way, but if you read the book, you find out that nothing in life is
Okay.
by accident.
All right. And there is a book,
That is.
The Accidental Chef, right? And we're going to talk about this a little bit later, too, when we're in the kitchen. He also cruises and cooks on cruises, correct?
I do. I teach
Yeah.
cooking on cruise ships for the
Okay.
guests.
How about that?
We usually do a few demonstrations for the entire complement, and then we take 12 to 16 in the galley and give them hands-on.
Wow.
So
That's
it's interesting.
amazing.
Yeah, I've done 9 of them now.
That's terrific. You're a busy guy.
Yeah, it's fun though.
Yeah, that's terrific. When we come back, we're going to talk about this book, and we're also going to talk about Chef Joseph's recipe for tonight, and it's called Nudie. And if you want to find out what it really is, I guess you're just going to have to come back. We'll see you in a minute.
Hi, my name is Dominique Payne, and I'm a culinary student here at LCCC with your culinary tip of the day. Today we are going to grill some fish. Grilling fish is a great way to enhance the flavors of some fish. Some fish that are great for grilling are swordfish, tuna, halibut, and shark. First, you want to get your grill up to 500 degrees until it's hot. You want to oil the grates so it doesn't stick. And you want to also season your swordfish, which we are grilling today. With oil and salt and pepper. You want to take your swordfish and place it on the grill. When you place it on the grill, you don't want to touch it. This allows it to get perfect grill marks on each side. You only let it grill for 30 to 40 seconds on each side until it's firm to touch. You want to seed the fish so it gets a nice grill mark on there, or sear, in other words. After it is ready to flip, you just want to move it a little bit. And you're going to turn it a quarter of a turn to get those nice grill marks. Seed it again. And let it cook for a couple minutes. When it's ready, you just flip it. And you get those nice grill marks that everyone likes. For thicker cuts, you could put it on a sizzle plate and put it in a 350 degrees oven to finish off. You want to seed it again on this side also, so you also get grill marks on both sides. It only takes a few minutes on each side, and when it's done, you just take it off, put it on your plate, and there you have it, grilled swordfish. And that's your culinary tip of the day. Bon appetit.
Hi, I'm Kathy Coslett, and thank you for joining us, coming back to watch Cooking Classic here in the kitchen at the Luzerne County Community College Culinary Arts Institute in Nanticoke, Pennsylvania. With me is Chef Joseph Caputo, and he has a restaurant in Scranton. He has a catering business in Scranton. He works for a cruise line, and he travels to Italy, and that's where he found this recipe.
That's right.
Nudi.
Nudi, yeah.
So we're going to let him tell you what it is.
Nudi in Italian.
I'm not going there.
Yeah, it means naked, and we're certainly going to leave our clothes on while we make it.
That's a good thing for all of you.
But the pasta itself is naked because it's sort of like naked ravioli. There's no pasta around it. It's sort of the filling. But the interesting story about it is, being from Tuscany, not that I'm from the south of Italy where my grandparents were in Calabria. But the legend there in Tuscany is that it was called strotta prete, which means strangle the priest. And so it was eaten on Fat Tuesday, and the priest ate so many that he choked. You need whole milk ricotta, and you can use skim milk, but it won't taste as rich and delicious unless you use whole milk.
I'm with you on that.
And
I have to ask you a question, though, before we go on. Because it doesn't have the actual dough, is it any less calories?
Well, you know, you're going to be cutting down on the carbohydrate because there's not as much flour in it.
Right.
But you still have a high fat content with the ricotta and the eggs and the cheese. But you just eat a small amount. When you go to Italy, you'll find the portions are very small. But they eat quality ingredient.
There we go.
So this is ricotta that I put in a coffee filter.
A coffee filter.
And then in a strainer. And if you can see, there's a lot of liquid in the bottom.
There really is.
The idea is that the ricotta needs to be very dry as the other ingredients because it's not going to soak up a lot of flour. And as a result, the nudi will be very light and airy versus heavy. Like a gnocchi sometimes with a lot of flour can be very overcoming in terms of heaviness.
So how long would someone expect to let that sit?
Overnight. And I cover it and I let it stay overnight and all that liquid comes out. This is frozen spinach. The recipe that I do have, you can use fresh spinach and then you have to drain it very well. But I find the frozen spinach works equally as well because many vegetables that are frozen are equal to fresh, like peas, for example, or corn, or spinach in this case. I did put it in a towel, such as this, and then I just kind of wring it out. And then again, to reassure that it's dry, I have it in a coffee filter. And then I also have another piece of paper towel on the bottom. So now the spinach is nice and dry as well.
And how long does that usually take?
And here again,
the same thing
overnight works perfectly. And then with my fork, I'm going to just combine the spinach.
Oh, that looks so good. You have two of my favorite things in there.
Yeah, these are great. And again, because this is Tuscany, it's Florentine. Anything Florentine, spinach. So we've got that going, Now we need some seasoning for that before we add the other things. So we do want to add some salt, and I do like to use kosher salt. I find kosher salt is rounder in the mouth, less grainy. It seems like a lot of salt, but it is not a very salty salt. So we don't need to use very much because we're going to be using cheese, but some. You can use white pepper. You wouldn't see the pepper.
Is there any difference in the flavor? Is it a little sweeter?
I think so sometimes, but
because I really like white pepper.
Yeah, a lot of it's aesthetic. Some people say I don't want to see black specks in my pasta, but it depends what you like. I happen to like white pepper for many things, but in this case, I brought black pepper today, so that's what I'm using.
Well, that's all right, and then you know what? Everybody has that at home.
That's right.
Anyway,
and then nutmeg. It's that little thing that Italians kind of use with greens,
you do sneak
like
that in all the time,
kale or Swiss chard, always with a little nutmeg, and just a pinch because it doesn't want to taste like Thanksgiving, but yet on the other hand, you want to be able to say, what is in there? And it's that nutmeg that we snuck in.
I don't know. We better stick to pasta.
You know, in my family, we made ravioli and manicotti before the turkey, you know, so that's how we did that. So now we've got that pretty much combined, and now we want to add some lovely grated Parmesan cheese. And this is, of course, the king of cheeses, Parmigiano Reggiano from Parma. About 3/4 of a cup for that amount of 1 pound of ricotta and 2 pounds of drained spinach.
That looks fabulous. We could just eat that like that.
Yeah, you probably could. Now to heat it or keep it all together, we're going to use some beaten eggs that I have here, and these are just regular whole eggs.
So about how many eggs do you have in there?
These are 2 eggs, again, for the 1 pound ricotta and 2 pounds of the drained spinach.
Now, about how many people would this serve?
This will easily serve 6
Wow.
hungry people and 8 maybe not so hungry people. However, as I said, if you were in Europe or Italy, the portions
Which
tend
would
to
be
be small
smaller.
because this is what we call il primo, which means first, and then i secondi comes second, which is usually the
I knew
fish
that.
or the.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, I'm kidding.
You got to go to Italy. They eat well, but they eat quality stuff, but small portions. And not a lot of flour. We're going to use just a few tablespoons of flour because the idea is we want to be sure that they do stay together. But on the other hand, we don't want them to be heavy, heavy, heavy. So that's about enough flour. That's not quite a tablespoon, so I put a little extra in there. But about 2 tablespoons for that, again, for that ratio that I came up with before.
Okay.
And then we combine again so that all the flour is amalgamated into the mixture. Now, the deal is you can't do this in advance because if you do, the moisture, even though we drained it, will continue to absorb the flour, and then more flour would have to be added, and then the nudi would become hard. Now, did you also know that there's another term called inudi,
Right.
which is plural,
Uh-huh.
which refers to the 20 naked men
Men.
that are holding up the 5 frescoes in the Sistine
Sistine
Chapel that recreate the creation scene.
So tell me how you connected these
Well,
two.
you know, my
This
wife
is
and I were
his
in. I
doing.
cooked in Italy. My wife and I have been fortunate to go to Italy many times, even on our 25th wedding anniversary. And after looking at the Sistine Chapel so many times and saying, those naked men up there, they're called nudi. I wonder if someone said this is an homage to Michelangelo. I've never found any research to say that, but you know what? In my mind, it is
the
an
heck?
homage.
Why not?
Why not? Why not? So now you can see that's come together very beautifully. So we're ready.
has.
Yeah, we're ready. We don't want to work it too much. We're ready to go. And I'm going to flour the plate because we don't want the nudi to stick to the plate. So we're going to do that. And then more importantly, we're going to flour our hands. Now, there's no other way to do this. It's messy, but this is the way the Italians do it. This is the way, you know, even in terms of gnocchi, I got to cook gnocchi in Italy, and this is how we did it. And we take a little bit of the dough.
Can I try it?
Yeah, and you can make a little ball like this, and it kind of looks like, you know, a meatball, a mini one.
It's like a cookie.
Yeah, I don't like that. So I like to pinch it a little bit and then flatten it a little bit and make it look more like a pillow. To me, that looks a little more
How
attractive.
did I know that this
Well,
wasn't going to be easy? And I
it's
floured
art.
my hands
Well, go
and
ahead. Now
everything.
you throw
Now
one.
I'm making
so
pillows.
Simple. Make a ball, and then pinch, and then pinch again, and then just set it on the plate, and you have a lovely little nudie. And these are going to be how are they coming? Not
right.
too bad.
Pinch.
Yes, and pinch again.
Wait, pinch.
And then,
pinch.
there you go. Don't flatten it
Little
too much. It'll be
pillow.
like a pancake then. Perfect.
That's not bad.
And then if it sticks a little more, you can just add a little more flour to your hands, and you continue to roll them. And they're quite simply dressed. I mean, in some
I
areas,
thought they were nude.
yeah, well, no, I mean in terms of a condiment for them. In some areas of Tuscany, you might find them with a tomato sauce. I don't particularly like them like that. My favorite is what we're going to do today, and that's just butter and the Parmesan cheese. You can take some sage, brown the butter till we get to what's called nisette, and that is a brown butter, beurre nisette, and you add your sage in, and it sizzles, and then you add the nudi to the brown sage butter, and thank you very much. And that's delicious. So that's another way of finishing it. One time I did have a catering customer who insisted I do them with tomato sauce, and I did. And he said they were delicious, but I wasn't real happy with them. Just because I didn't think that they looked that good. Now, as you can tell, as we're talking
Yeah,
here,
it would
we're
kinda look
varying
funny.
size. Yeah, we want
So
to be
we're
sure
not
they're kind
supposed to be-
Well, we want to kind of get them uniform,
cook the
so they
same?
cook evenly. And it's funny because on a cruise
Is
ship
this
one
one
time,
all right, or should it be
that's beautiful.
larger?
On Alaska,
thanks.
we made gnocchi, and we had about 12 students in the class. And as a result of that, everyone's gnocchi were a different size.
Oh, no.
So the sous chef and I were running in the back of the kitchen and trying to make gnocchi that would all be uniform.
So
that
do
we
you
could
ever
serve
hear
for
from
lunch.
some of these people from
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
teach?
yeah, I do. Sometimes,
bet.
you know, they take my email and then they'll write to me and they'll, you know, ask me questions or ask me for more recipes, or sometimes they'll tell me that they tried something that they learned on board.
Oh, that must
and then,
feel good,
Yeah, and they'll
right?
send me pictures of it too. And sometimes it's great, you know, and you meet wonderful people from all over the world, and it's been exciting, really.
It must be really exciting.
Yeah, we get to cook with different
And then
ingredients.
tell me about your restaurant.
Well, the restaurant is called Zuppa del Giorno, which in Italian means soup of the day. And we do soups. We do 4 or 5 soups in the wintertime, and in the summertime,
too
2
big.
or 3. Yeah, if it's too
Go
big,
ahead,
you
I'm
can just
listening.
pull it out. And then we also make lovely salads and panini sandwiches. So they're easy to make, right?
They are easy. It's a lot easier than I thought.
Can you tell just by the feel of them how light they are?
Yeah, they are really
Yeah, they
light.
are really light. And again, it's
I
because
can't wait to
the case
taste
is
these.
we're not
I'm
using
sorry
so much
I did
flour.
That. That's all right.
No,
It doesn't
that's
put
going to be
much on
fine
there because it's going to get coated anyway,
That's right. And
See?
it's all going to come out.
See, I read.
So, and if you just sometimes I even sprinkle a little
There
flour
you
on
go.
top like
Okay.
Same thing if you're doing, let's say, gnocchi and you make them with potatoes. I studied with a woman in Tolfa, Italy, and she said the secret to that was make sure the potatoes are cool, not warm.
Okay. Well, we're going to continue making these. Maybe we'll even clean up before we come
It's like
back.
playing with your food, right?
But don't go away. We'll be right back.
Are you ready? I'm ready to learn the skills that lead to a career, not just a job. I'm ready to earn a degree, not a lot of debt. I'm ready for a powerful degree that will transfer to other colleges and universities. My mind is ready. I'm ready for Luzerne County Community College.
Welcome back. I'm glad you stayed with us. For those of you who are just tuning in, we are with Chef Joseph Caputo, and we are about to begin cooking our gnudi and explain what that pasta is.
Yeah,
it's not
gnudi,
really a pasta, right?
It's a naked ravioli. There's no pasta around it, but is the filling of ravioli.
There we go.
Since it has ricotta, grated Parmesan cheese, and spinach. Little nutmeg too, salt
Yeah.
and pepper.
They look so good.
Yeah,
It's
they'll be
amazing.
light. They'll
I
be light
can't
like
wait.
pillows. We've got some boiling water here, which I salt it rather
Okay.
heavily. You want to be sure it almost tastes like the ocean.
Oh, really?
It's your only chance for any pasta to really season the pasta.
Okay.
So whenever you're cooking any dry pasta,
Well, then-
whatever, lots of water and nice and salty.
Huh. I didn't, some people go back and forth with that all the time. Salt it, don't salt it. Put oil in it.
Don't put oil in it.
Yeah, doesn't that make
Well, I'll tell
the
you what
sauces not
That's right. That's
stick?
right. That's right. I never do put oil. And in Italy,
Okay.
again, I studied a few times, and no one ever puts oil in the water.
He studied
No.
a few
No.
times.
Just a few times.
Just a few. So here's the other thing I want to know.
Yes.
That we sort of brought up while you weren't with us, but what the heck is it like doing this kind of stuff on a moving ship at sea?
Well, it depends on the weather. One time I was doing manicotti, which are little crepes that we fill with ricotta and sauce, and we had a little storm at sea. So I said to the guests,
here
don't
we go.
worry about
Can we
rolling them up.
recreate
Yeah,
that?
just put the gnocchi, put the manicotti on, put the ricotta, watch it roll all by itself.
my
So it
gosh.
wasn't that rough, but it was rough enough. And then sometimes people, get seasick and they leave your class and you think, gee, were they not interested? No, they were sick.
You don't get offended
So,
anymore,
yeah,
right?
It can be challenging
First time.
sometimes. But we've been lucky. We've had good weather most of our crossings, so we've been lucky.
All right, so you've really rolled these a bit in the flour that was left
Yeah.
on the plate.
Yeah, the
That's
idea
going to
is
cover them.
and again, you don't want to do these in advance because the longer they sit, the more they're going to absorb more flour, they're going to become damp, and then they're not going to have a nice texture.
Okay.
So they're really ready to go if we are.
Yeah, I
I've
have
got
to
some
see- I have to see
rolling
this.
boiling
Okay.
water here, and then very carefully, because you don't want to burn yourself, a couple at a time. You certainly could put them on a slotted spoon that I have there and slip them into the water, but I do have asbestos
This
hands.
is much more exciting,
Well, I
isn't
have
it?
asbestos hands, and I've got the scars to prove it.
There
so
you go.
we just keep rolling here.
That's the theater part
That's
of him,
right.
the combination of the theater
And
the
really, what's
cooking.
going to happen now is the gnudi are going to begin to cook, and as they cook, they're going to come to the top, and that's their lightness. In the meantime, I have my butter here. This is whole, unsalted butter.
Now, you said to heavily salt the water, but then
Yeah.
the butter doesn't have any salt
That's
in it.
right. So it'll counterbalance. And the
right.
cheese is also salty, so you're
Salty,
going to have
yeah.
a salt
I love
content
this.
there. Now you can see one is
I'm-
coming to the
right.
top, two
Here
is
we
coming to
go.
the top, 3, 4. They're really starting to say, we're ready.
We're ready.
So it's not very long. Once they come to the top, I give them about another 30 seconds,
All right.
give or take, and then we'll start taking them out and we'll finish them in our butter.
And if we
That's getting
did
hot.
our job correctly, with all of them being somewhat similar in size, they should all come up pretty
and they
much
are
around
start.
the same
If
time,
you notice, they're really coming up. I mean,
Yeah,
they
they
are.
are. We
So
did a
now we
good
want to
job. Mm-hmm.
drain them because you want to be sure there's no water, because nothing worse than water in the bottom of a pasta with a great sauce. And then we're just going to drop them lightly into our butter, and they look great.
See, that's amazing. I couldn't wait to see what
Yeah.
actually happened to them when you put them
Well,
in the water, and they really just stay
Remember,
together, and
we've
they
got-
look as good as when we
we've
put
got
them in.
binding factors in here. We've got
Right.
the eggs,
The
which
egg
of course
and the-
cook or poach here,
and the
then we've
flour.
also got the flour, and we've also got the cheese. So all those things are binding along with the spinach
This
and the
looks
ricotta.
great.
And they're lovely.
Oh, I'm so glad you decided to make this.
I knew you'd
This
enjoy
is really
them.
different.
And the thing is, they're so easy and quick. I mean, you can make this in an evening and have a lovely little supper. And,
And then tell everyone, what would you serve with this again? We talked about this before. A little fish,
well,
maybe?
Here again, yeah, a lovely piece of fish. I know when we did it on ship this past January in the Western Caribbean, I made Saltimbocca. So
Oh
I
my
took a pork
gosh.
cutlet, which I pounded really thin with some sage and prosciutto, just kind of seared it off with a little flour, lemon, white wine, and we served it beside the gnudi. Everybody loved it.
Now, are some of those recipes in your book,
Yes,
The
the
Accidental
Saltimbocca
Chef?
is there. The gnudi are not there, but my gnocchi are there, the ones I did in Italy.
Okay.
But if anyone wants the recipe, we could always email it to...
Well, they can get that right
I'll get
on
it.
our website,
Absolutely.
too, right? You know,
So
Luzerne
now-
County Community College's
Yeah,
website.
we don't need to do much more except, finish them in the butter. And
Okay.
then you could certainly put the cheese on at the very end, and then they're ready to eat.
Okay, while these are cooking, we're going to take another break, and we're going to
Sure.
come back, plate this, and taste
And
it.
enjoy it.
Okay, we'll see you in a minute.
Hello, my name is Marae Monte, and I'm a culinary student at Luzerne Community College. Today, I will be making roasted garlic. First, I will cut the top off of the garlic. Then I'm going to dip the garlic into the oil. I already have an oven that's preheated to 375, and this will go in there for about 30 minutes, just about 30 minutes. Just keep checking on it or until you smell it. You put it into the oven. Let that cook. This is what the finished product would be. Now I will be chopping up the garlic and adding it into my mashed potatoes. Make sure you don't have any garlic pieces left on it, the little skins. Make sure when you're cutting, you always have your hands curled up so you don't cut your fingers off. Clean off the knife because it gets sticky. And what I actually like to do is kind of make like a semi-paste out of it. So you don't bite into it and get those real big garlic chunks. Nobody wants that. So all you do is smooth it out just a tad bit. Smooth it off. Get all your pieces. Chop it up just a little bit more. Take this garlic paste, put it into your mashed potatoes. Take your spatula, mix it into your mashed potatoes. Make sure you mix it evenly so it's not, you don't have one part garlic, the rest of it mashed potatoes. Now that it's evenly distributed, take some nicely fresh cut parsley, sprinkle it on the top, and this is my culinary tip of the day. Bon appetit.
Are you ready? I'm ready to learn the skills that lead to a career, not just a job. I'm ready to earn a degree, not a lot of debt. I'm ready for a powerful degree that will transfer to other colleges and universities. My mind is ready. I'm ready for Luzerne County Community College.
are back. This is Cooking Classic. I'm Kathy Koslett. This is Chef Joseph Caputo, and we are finishing up. I say we, how about that? He is finishing up his nudi, or kind of naked ravioli,
That's
or
right.
gnocchi, correct?
Yeah, a form of gnocchi or strottoprete, which means strangle the priest, as we said before.
Strottoprete, strangle the priest. There we
now,
go.
You know, we're really just kind of keeping it warm in the butter, keeping the butter nice and creamy, and then allowing some lovely Parmigiano Reggiano to melt over the top of these. And then we're going to serve them so you can
this
taste
looks so
them.
good.
We don't want the butter to get brown. However, if we did, we could brown the butter and then add some sage, as I mentioned, in the fall. That's great. And then you'd have another variation.
What does browning the butter do to the flavor?
It gives it a nutty kind of taste. And it's quite great. And with the sage, it offsets. It gives it a foresty kind of feel and a very autumn, winter kind of thing. Now, this would be a generous portion for one person.
This looks incredible.
So I'm not going to put them all out. This probably would be more like 2, because in Italy, they would absolutely not agree with that much.
So what kind of
And
wine
then a
would
little
you
of the
drink with
butter.
this?
Oh, I think a nice white Sauvignon Blanc or Pinot Grigio would be fabulous with that. Something light, nothing too heavy, because there's no tomato base. And there's our nudi. And of course, a little more cheese is never a problem. We can do that. And those
Oh, that looks
are
amazing.
the Florentine nudi, or naked ravioli, or strozzaprete.
Awful lot of names going on here.
Lots of
Awful lot of names.
But
I'm going to taste it in one
You
second.
are.
I just want to tell everyone about your book, The
Yes.
Accidental Chef. Now, this particular recipe isn't in this book.
it's not, because I did learn how to make this after the book was
Okay.
printed. However,
Okay.
there is a recipe for gnocchi there that I did with a lovely woman. She's deceased now, but I cooked with her in Tolfa, Italy a number of years ago, and her gnocchi recipe is in there.
All right.
So,
and this
that's
is filled
lovely.
with lots of stories. You're traveling,
It's-
your family.
Well, the humorous stories, things,
Okay.
mistakes and mishaps. So there's a lot of self-disclosure in the book. And then at the end is some recipes that I remember from my childhood, from my restaurant experiences working in restaurants, and then my own.
You're going to love it. You're really going to
It's
love
a lot
it.
of fun.
BarnesandNoble.com,
Sure.
Amazon.com,
Yeah, it's an
The
easy read.
Accidental Chef.
It's a fun
And
read.
then,
Go ahead, see
oh
what you
my
think.
gosh, I've been dying. See
They
what I
look so
think.
yummy.
I'm going to make a mess of this beautiful
you're
plate,
not.
but here goes. Oh my goodness. You really need to make these.
They're light.
Oh, they're
right?
terrific.
They're light.
Oh
I mean,
my
you
God,
could eat,
delicious.
You could eat a lot of them, right?
Yeah, as a
Yeah,
matter of fact,
good.
I think I will. So thank you very much for
Thank you.
joining us. I'm going to finish here.
Absolutely.
And I hope you'll run out and get the ingredients and make this and get in touch with Chef Joseph Caputo. Thanks
you.
a lot for joining us. Bye. Oh, these are incredible.